Hi, I am your virtual teacher for Science 9, Miss Rizalyn Tiempo Corpin, and welcome to the new mode of teaching in education. And welcome to my virtual classroom. So students, how are you today? Are you feeling alright? I am glad that you were able to attend our class today. So for today's lesson, we are going to describe the different patterns of non-Mendelian inheritance. So any one of you here still remember your lesson from grade 8 about the Mendelian genetics? Mendelian genetics refers to the inheritance of traits controlled by a single gene with two alleles, one of which may be completely dominant to the other. Well done! Okay class, before we proceed to our next lesson, let me show you a video clip on the case between Smithers and Stevens regarding on paternity issues.
Please be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is the case of Smethers versus Stevens.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Good day. Ms. Smethers, you have dragged the defendant to court because you are devastated that he refuses to accept that he is your son Adrian's biological father. You claim today's DNA test results will have a dramatic impact on your future as a family. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Stevens, you say that one look at you and the baby is all the proof anyone needs to see that you are not the father. And if that's not enough, you claim the plaintiff slept with another man right before she told you she's pregnant. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Smith,
She wants to say, like, I cheated on her for the 5 years, but, like, there'd be times when I'd text her and ask her, like, hey, where you at? Well, she's supposed to be at home, but yet she's
That's
in
a
a
lie.
different state. She was in a different state. She was
In a
not at
different
home. She
state?
was not at home.
No,
She was in
I was
Indiana.
at home.
pregnancy. Ms. Smethers, you find out you're pregnant, you tell Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
What was his response?
He was happy.
I was happy. And
Oh.
then, like, and then the aspect is like, you know, she was pregnant, but she waited 5 months to tell.
And so at 5 months, she pops up and tells you, I cheated and this may not be your child?
One of my family members and a couple of our mutual friends that we had together, they ended up coming out and telling me that she opened up to them and told them that AJ might not be mine and that she cheated on me. With her and the other guy, it was more than one time. And then on top of that, it was at my mom's house, in our bedroom.
What?
You know what I'm saying? And at my parents' house. So, like,
So,
yeah,
Ms. Smethers, how do you end up with another guy?
I knew him already.
And so you knew this person, you all started dating or you just started sleeping together.
Yep.
But you don't believe that, Mr. Stevens.
not one bit.
Why do you believe this other man is Adrian's biological father?
Because I don't see my side of the feature in him when it comes to it. Like, he's the lightest one.
Okay, well, you know babies come in all different skin colors. You cannot
Yeah.
judge a baby by what color they come
Yeah,
out.
but
or
that's his
even
ma-
what
that's one
color
of
they
his main
are. You
points.
can't judge that.
I know. That's one of his main points. That's what I'm trying to get through his head. Just because he has lighter skin doesn't mean he's not his.
When you look at Adrian, you see the other guy.
A little bit, yes, ma'am.
So
He's just had his doubts. He always comes out and says, like, he's too white, he can't be my baby, but
I don't see myself when I look at him. I try.
did you sign the birth certificate?
No, ma'am.
And why did you not sign the birth certificate?
Because I had doubts that AJ wasn't mine then.
So, Miss Smethers, your friend, Miss Craig, is in court today. She's a witness.
I know that Mr. Stevens has had doubts about Adrian belonging to him.
What has Miss Smethers told you about the situation?
She has said that she had doubts.
She told you she had doubts.
that's not true.
Miss Smethers, do you want this relationship to last, to work with Mr. Stevens?
I would like it to work out. That's why I'm here to prove that he is AJ's father. Yes.
And if for some reason he is not his biological father, does the other guy know that Adrian is born, that he's here? Does he have any feelings about whether or not Adrian is his biological child? We've got the results, so we can get down to the bottom of this right now. Jerome. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics and they read as follows. In the case of Smethers versus Stevens, when it comes to 22-month-old Adrian James Stevens, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Stevens, you...
So class, who do you think is the real father of Andre and James? Is it Mr. Stevens or the neighbor?
Mr. Stevens, you are the father.
So how did he come up with the result that Mr. Stevens is the real father and not the neighbor? A genealogical DNA test is a DNA-based test which looks at specific locations of a person's genome in order to find or verify ancestral genealogical relationships or, with lower reliability, to estimate the ethnic mixture of an individual as part of genetic genealogy. So, through DNA testing, they were able to know the result that it was Mr. Stevens is Adrian James' real father and not the neighbor. That was it. That video clip has something to do with our lesson for today about the different patterns of non-Mendelian inheritance. But before that, I am going to give you a test to know your knowledge about our topic. So for this test, if you scored 8 to 10, you are well knowledgeable on the topic. If you scored 5 to 7, you have at least an idea about the topic. And if you scored 4 and below, you have to listen to this discussion. So for this lesson, we are going to describe the different patterns of non-Mendelian inheritance. So what is a non-Mendelian inheritance? So the non-Mendelian patterns of inheritance are basically any inheritance that do not follow one or more laws of the Mendelian genetics. Mendel's first law, the law of segregation. The second law is the law of independent assortment. The third law is the law of dominance. These are the basic rules of genetics, but as scientists began exploring more and more test processes, they found tons of traits that didn't match up nicely with these laws predicted. Some traits exhibited a kind of blending, where the offspring of organisms with two different traits didn't have one or the other form from the other parents they had. They had something that was sort in the middle. This implies that alleles aren't dominant over the other ones, rather they share roles like harmonious friends. Some traits seem to be controlled by complex inheritance patterns. So we know now that traits can be controlled by more than one gene or genetic material, may pass down from parent to offspring in different ways than what Mendel predicted with his law of segregation. Finally, non-Mendelian inheritance patterns might just be the cause by mistakes in reproduction. So there are a ton of different processes all happening together like a coordinated dance. And all it takes is one thing to trip or mess up, and the whole thing goes haywire. Let us take an in-depth look at some of the different types of the non-Mendelian genetic inheritance patterns. We have two, the incomplete dominance and the co-dominance. An incomplete dominance, the traits are blended together just like paint mixed together, rather than occurring in discrete patches like speckled flowers or calico cat. I'm going to show you an example of an incomplete dominance using a Punnett square. What is a Punnett square? The Punnett square is a square diagram that is used to predict the genotypes of a particular cross or breeding experiment. A good example of an incomplete dominance is flower color in 4 o'clock plant. So when a pure red flowered 4 o'clock plant is crossed with a pure white flowered 4 o'clock plant. This cross results to an offspring that produce neither red or white. 4 o'clock flower plant, instead, all flowers will be pink. Okay, let us set up our Punnett square using the cross of the 4 o'clock flower plant. The dominant trait is red, which is represented by capital letter R, and crossed with the white 4 o'clock flower plant, which is represented by the small letter W. In incomplete dominance class, both of the parent allele are dominant of each other, so they do keep on fighting and fighting for their ability to appear on offspring. But neither one is going to win. It's incomplete. They keep on fighting, they mix, and start blending until they get this color combination a lot of time. Now let us calculate the probability of each phenotype being passed down to the offspring. In codominance, 2 different alleles are both expressed equally, rather than a dominant allele taking complete control over a recessive allele. A good example to this is a red cow crossed with a white cow producing a roan cow. Okay class, get your activity notebook and let us answer our activity. So we have here a situation. 3 children recently born in a hospital were accidentally mixed up. The blood types of the parents involved are given along with the blood types of the infants. Determine which baby belongs with which parents, and explain your reasoning for the decisions you made. To wrap up our lesson for today, talking about the non-Mendelian patterns of inheritance, it is basically any inheritance that do not follow or one more laws of the Mendelian genetics. We have 2 types of non-Mendelian pattern of inheritance. We have the incomplete dominance. The traits are blended together just like paint mixed together, rather than occurring in discrete patches like the speckled flowers or calico cat. In codominance, there are 2 different alleles are both expressed equally, rather than a dominant allele taking complete control over a recessive allele. A good example to this is a red cow crossed with a white cow producing a roan cow. So there you go. We have wrapped up all our lessons and it's time for you to answer these tests. Alright, time is up. Submit your test and you will be notified with your score in our Google Classroom. See you guys next week. Stay safe, stay healthy. God bless us all. Bye.